Nebraska and Matt Rhule have a huge recruiting weekend ahead of them. Nebraska is hosting 5 transfers on campus. So in this video, we're going to break down each one in detail and talk about what they will bring to Nebraska and even if the Huskers will land them to begin with. So without further ado, if you like the content, as always, please hit the like button along with subscribing to the channel. We have had 17 straight days of Nebraska football content and we're only getting started, guys. So again, appreciate the support as of recent, but let's get into the video. So let's start off with the most notable player getting on campus. Again, we have 5 total transfers, each one of them very important for Nebraska. But the first one is probably the most notable, the guy who's got the most hype, that being Dante Dowdell. We made a video about him. If you haven't checked it out, no worries. But he is a running back transfer from Oregon, 6'2", 220, bruiser running back, but also a guy who has a lot of speed on him, runs a certified 4.4, only had 1 year at Oregon as a true freshman, had about 100 yards and a touchdown. You know, nothing too much there, but we're talking about a guy who was a top 200 recruit in the class of 2023 and ran for 2,000 yards his senior year and 30 touchdowns. I mean, it doesn't get much better than that. Dante Dowdell, complete stud. This is a guy who, the second he gets on campus, if he does in fact commit to Nebraska, has a legit shot to win that running back 1 job from the get-go, man. This dude is a stud. And the fact that he was at Eugene for 1 year is also big. We know that Oregon is a running back factory. He's around a lot of really good running backs there, including Bucky Irving, who's going to go very high in this NFL draft upcoming this spring. When you're around excellence, that only goes off of you. I mean, iron sharpens iron. We hear it every single offseason. So, Dante Dowdell, man, really looking forward to him. Hopefully we land him. Basically, it's down to us or Ole Miss. He grew up in Mississippi. He already took a visit to Ole Miss. He liked it there, but is looking for a place as elsewhere, and hopefully Nebraska is that place. It should be noted that Ole Miss's best running back, Judkins, just entered the transfer portal, so the Rebels are looking for a running back. We kind of have to fend him off. Will be interesting to see what we offer him in NIL compensation, but I believe we do land Dante Dowdell. But this is a huge guy we want on campus. Number 2. We'll go to the linebacker spot next. We are hosting a guy from Idaho. His name is Ziri Alexander. Might have butchered that first name. True freshman this year for Idaho. He had 74 tackles. Just played as a true freshman. Was a pretty solid recruit. You don't see many solid recruits commit to Idaho. He was originally an Arizona State recruit. Ended up decommitting after Herm Edwards got fired. Went to Idaho. Played really well. And entered the transfer portal. I mean, really good player. Watching a little bit of his film, great instincts in the run game, something we need at the linebacker spot. I mean, he is just an athletic freak. I keep talking about that when it comes to our linebackers. You know, we can have what we've had over the years, like a Luke Reimer or a Nick Henrich. Those guys are fine, but they don't move the needle. They're never NFL guys. They're never all Big Ten guys. They're solid, but they're not difference makers. We need difference makers, and you get difference makers by getting athletic linebackers who have potential. This is what I was talking about. Ziri Alexander, get great running instincts, has a great speed on him. He has the ability to lay the boom, I put in my notes. He had a couple of clips on his highlight reel of him just demolishing guys, especially in the pass game, right? Really good zone coverage. He's listed at 6'2", 220. So honestly, we could do some funny stuff with him, put him at nickel, put him at that rover spot. Not necessarily big enough to play traditional linebacker, at least not yet. And that's expected, right? He's still going into his second year of college, but he has 3 more years of eligibility after this, so bright future for this guy. And he was an all-American FCS player as a true freshman. So, I mean, come on. Everything lines up for this guy. This would be a huge get, especially linebacker is probably one of our bigger positions of need, especially with some of our established guys leaving the program due to them graduating. So watch out for Alexander from Idaho. We'll keep it with the linebacker spot. Next on to Syracuse, a linebacker coming in from Syracuse by the name of Stefan Thompson. Another guy who complete stud at that linebacker spot. A little older than Alexander. He's already played 4 years of college ball, has 2 more years left of eligibility. and was already basically accustomed to being in that Tony White defense. He was been in it for 3 years of his career. Was just on a visit to Florida State, so we're fending off some guys for him, but he had 51 tackles last year for the Orange, was really productive in 2021, had 71 tackles that year, then got banged up 2022. But a guy who throughout his career has continued to be very productive, has always been one of the biggest leaders and best players, let's call it what it is, on that Orange defense. Need a guy like him. Very built as well. He's 6'1", 250, so we definitely don't have to worry about weight with him. He is an instant guy where the second he gets on campus, he might be your starting middle linebacker. So definitely need a guy like Stefan Thompson. Was reading about him a little bit as well. A lot of NFL scouts projected him to have an even opportunity going pretty high in the third day of the NFL draft. So another guy that we're basically stealing from the NFL draft and will instantly become one of the better linebackers in the Big Ten if we do so land him. So huge linebacker additions there if we were to get them on campus. Again, Matt Rhule, from what it sounds like, they're laying out the red carpet for all 5 of these guys. So those are the linebackers. We talked about Dante Dowdell. Let's get into the wide receivers and a couple more things I didn't add in my specific videos about them. Starting off with Isaiah Neyor. So we talked about Neyor a little bit, but he got on campus on Wednesday, went to the Nebraska basketball game with Dylan Raiola and Marcus Satterfield, was seen there. Basically, he got a crystal ball today. There's rumors he's already a silent commit. This is a big get for Nebraska. Big get. Isaiah Neyor's a stud. And I'm going to go off on a quick tangent. Please hold with me real quick. I posted something about Isaiah Neyor potentially being an elite addition. Somebody commented at the time, the comment was no longer there, and they said, elite addition, he was a 2-star recruit coming out of high school. Okay, really quick on that. If you are a recruit, stars only matter when you're in high school. The second you get to college, stars are irrelevant. I hate when people are like, well, he was a blank recruit coming out of high school. It doesn't matter. He's been in college for 4 years. We use this both ways, right? There's a really good productive player in the transfer portal, and people will be like, well, he was a 2-star. It doesn't matter. Or there's a player who was absolutely not productive at all. And I'll give you an example. Tyreek Johnson was a great example of this. Nebraska got him in the transfer portal 2 years ago from Ohio State. This dude was a bust. He never played a second for the Buckeyes. But because of the fact that he was a former 5-star, Nebraska fans convinced themselves that he was some elite get. Guess what? He committed here and didn't do a single thing. So I'm sorry about that quick tangent, but stars do not matter, especially when you're 2-3 years into college. They don't matter. It's irrelevant. Really quick want to address that. Isaiah Neyor, that's a borderline an elite get. I'll say that right now. He's 6'3". When he's healthy, he's been productive every single year of his career. Again, he just had bad luck with the injury bug. But I'll tell you this, when he is healthy and playing, man, he's a difference maker, and he's an NFL guy. So that would be big for Isaiah Neyor. Again, if you're not familiar with him, he was at Wyoming for the start of his career, was very productive there. Only had 2 years at Wyoming, played as a true freshman, played as a true sophomore. If he had 3 years, he would have probably entered the NFL draft. Decided to go to Texas, and just got banged up the last 2 years. But he had 900 yards at Wyoming in 2021. Just stud. 6'3". He has 2 years of eligibility left. Big get for Nebraska if we land him. Last guy is another big target, Jamal Banks. Shout out to Jamal Banks. Jamal Banks actually commented on my YouTube video about him, so shout out to you, man. Hopefully you commit to Nebraska. But 6'4", had 650 yards this year, 650 yards the year before. Another guy who could have been a draft guy but chose to go back to college and have another opportunity to get maybe a 1,000-yard season. He has 2 years of eligibility left. He's already basically been all around the Big Ten, recruiting visits to Wisconsin, to Minnesota, to Notre Dame, to Purdue. You name it, Jamal Banks has been there. This guy is a guy with a huge repertoire, a lot of offers to his name. There's a lot of really good guys coming on a visit. Do not get me wrong, right? We have went over 5 very talented guys. Jamal Banks might be the most talented. It might be the most proven out of everybody here. Man, he's a stud. Jamal Banks is a stud. And again, I talked about this in his video, but you see a common theme with Marcus Satterfield. You see a common theme with Matt Rhule. They like these bigger wide receivers. Jamal Banks, Isaiah Neyor. These guys who are 6'3", 6'4", can go up and get those 50-50 balls. You know, in Jamal Banks' case, yeah, does he run a 4.4 speed? Not really. But he's 6'4", and that makes up for it. And he has effort in the blocking department. He has effort in the run after catch department, right? So Jamal Banks, yes, does he not check the box for speed? Sure he doesn't. But you've seen a lot of elite receivers not run a 4.3, and that's okay. On the other side, we look at Isaiah Neyor. Isaiah Neyor's an inch shorter than Jamal Banks, and he runs about a 4.4, so you don't have to worry about speed when it comes to Neyor. But very, very impressed with these two players. And the whole transfer weekend as a whole, this is big. Again, we already talked about it. Matt Rhule is going to do whatever it takes to get all 5 of these guys. Every single one of these guys should be a take. And Matt Rhule has already established he wants to do things the old school way. That's fine. But when you do take a transfer, and you do need to take transfers, every single one needs to matter. Every single 5 of these guys has the ability to matter. And if they end up committing, you need to show instant playing time to all these guys. They're all studs, and they've all proven that they can play right away for Nebraska. So that's my little bit on that. And I've already talked about Matt Rhule with his old school philosophy. That's okay. Again, it's not awesome in my opinion. I think in modern day college football, you need to be a little more aggressive in the transfer portal. But then again, I'm just a fanalist. We're going to trust Matt Rhule in this one. But all I'm saying is that you have to take transfers in modern day college football. We're doing so. You've got to hit on them, though. Okay, if you're taking less, you got to hit on more. That's just the way it works. So, huge recruiting weekend, everybody. Let me know down below who you're most excited about. I'm stoked about everybody. If I had to pick one, though, give me that Alexander kid from Idaho. 3 years of eligibility left. Complete athletic freak. He is a difference maker, but anybody here you can be excited about. So, really stoked. I think Nebraska lands almost all of them. A quick little prediction, I say. We land Dante Dowdell. We land Neyor. I think we land Alexander for sure. And then I don't feel as great about Jamal Banks and Stefan Thompson committing. I just talked about Stefan Thompson basically being recruited very hard by Florida State. Jamal Banks, there's a lot of offers to his name. I think we might land with Stefan Thompson. Jamal Banks might be the hardest one to get, all things considered. But like I just said, I think he might be the best talent, so it might be worth fighting for. So we'll see what the NIL packages add up to as well. But as always, go Big Red, go Matt Rhule. See you next one.